Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Against the Odds. So last week we had the ultimate Against the Odds poll featuring the Ultimatum cycle along with Mistform Ultimatus, but the Ultimatum cycle primarily from Alara block, and in the end it was Clarion Ultimatum coming out on top. So this week we're heading to Modern to play a deck I'm calling Clairvoyant Visionary, which looks to use Clarion Ultimatum as a way to set up a game-winning combo, so we'll see if it works. Anyway, a quick reminder before we break down Clairvoyant Visionary for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you enjoy Against the Odds in general, it would be amazing of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So Clairvoyant Visionary is built around Clarion Ultimatum. So this was our winning ultimatum, and it's a pretty interesting card. Basically, when we cast it for 1,000,000 mana, 7 mana, all in the bant colors, lots of colored mana symbols, we get to choose 5 permanents we control, and for each of those, we get to search our library for a card with the same name and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So this basically finds us more copies of stuff that we already have on the battlefield. So when it comes to building around Clarion Ultimatum, I guess it's possible to just use it as a value card, just play a normal deck and copy a bunch of stuff. Hopefully that value is enough to win the game, but that's not really in the spirit of Against the Odds. So I really wanted to find a way to turn Clarion Ultimatum into a I win the game right now combo piece. And it was actually pretty challenging. Part of the problem was, if you go with, I'm just going to play big stuff. Let's say you played all the Titans. Your opponent's probably just going to die to Titans. If you have 5 different Titans on the battlefield, they're probably just dead anyway. So what's the point in really using Clarion Ultimatum? So we needed a way that Clarion Ultimatum actually mattered. So after a bunch of digging, I came to the conclusion that there's one card that can turn Clarion Ultimatum into a winning combo piece, and that is Biovisionary. So Biovisionary, not all that impressive at first glance, a 3-mana 2/3, but if we have 4 or more Biovisionaries on the battlefield at our end step, we win the game. So we have a couple of plans here. The most straightforward is if we can just have 2 Biovisionaries on the battlefield. When we cast Clarion Ultimatum, we just choose Biovisionary, search up our other 2 Biovisionaries, go to our end step, we win the game. But that's kind of risky. Like, we gotta have 2 Biovisionaries for that to work, so we have some backup Biovisionaries to help facilitate this combo. So our backup Biovisionaries are Woodland Bellower and Mirage Mirror. So we're going pretty deep, but with either of these on the battlefield, along with our Biovisionaries, it's much easier to assemble the 4 Biovisionaries necessary to win the turn we cast Clarion Ultimatum. So, say we have Biovisionary, Woodland Bellower, Mirage Mirror on the battlefield, we can target each of them with our Clarion Ultimatum, we get another Biovisionary, we get a Woodland Bellower, which enters the battlefield, searches for a green creature converted mana cost 3 or less, puts it on the battlefield, which happens to be Biovisionary, and a Mirage Mirror, which can copy Biovisionary, and that also gets us to the 4 Biovisionaries. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can set up this combo. We usually need at least 1 Biovisionary, but for the most part, we're trying to assemble the right cards to Clarion Ultimatum, that the end result is we get 4 Biovisionaries on the battlefield on the end step of the same turn we cast Clarion Ultimatum to win the game. So that's our overall plan. That's our finisher. The rest of the deck, we have a bunch of ramp because Clarion Ultimatum pretty expensive and has very specific mana costs. We can't use any generic mana. So Birds of Paradise and Noble Hierarch just ramp us into our stuff. It lets us play Biovisionary on turn 2, gets us to all of our big stuff a turn faster. Knight of the Reliquary is also kind of a ramp card. Also a fixing card, but we can play it on turn 2, it gets pretty big, blocks while we're waiting to set up our ultimatum, find our combo pieces, and it also actually ramps us because we can tap a land for mana, a forest or a plains, then we sacrifice it, which gets us an untapped land, which we can then tap for mana, so it does ramp us by 1 mana during a turn, so for 6 mana, it gets us to 7 mana to cast our Clarion Ultimatum, hopefully combo, and win the game. We also have a bunch of ways of protecting our Biovisionary, so the nightmare situation is is we go through all this work. We get the 4 Biovisionaries on the battlefield, and before we get to our end step, our opponent lightning bolts our Path to Exiles to ruin it. So Sejiri Steep, we can tutor up with our Knight of the Reliquary, because it can find any land, and it gives our Biovisionary, the one being targeted by the bolt or the fatal push or whatever, protection from a color to keep it alive. Selfless Spirit protects our entire board from wraths, but also protects Biovisionary from the bolts and the fatal pushes. And Spell Queller is kind of like a counter spell that we can use to stop a removal spell on our Biovisionary. And then Eternal Witness does 2 different things. First, it lets us get a Biovisionary back from the graveyard if it dies in the early game, so we can recast it because we need all 4. It also just gives us a crazy value loop with our Ultimatum. So we can Ultimatum, get our Eternal Witness, along with a bunch of other things, which gets back our Ultimatum, so the next turn we can cast it again, do it again, and even without the combo, if we lose the ability to combo, we can hopefully still just win the game by Clarion Ultimatum value. Scavenging Ooze, just a one-of, mostly a tutor target for our Woodland Bellower, so we can get it to hate on graveyards if we run into Dredge or Living End or something like that. And then we have a couple of Chord of Callings as a backup way to set up our combo. If we're a Biovisionary short, we can cast a Clarion Ultimatum, get a bunch of things on the battlefield, maybe tap our creatures to search out the last Biovisionary and win. Path to Exile as our removal spell. As far as the mana base, we have a couple of sweet lands that we can tutor up with Knight of the Reliquary beyond the Sejiri Steep. Gavany Township, another part of our backup win plan, so if we're not able to combo off with Biovisionary, we can just Clarion Ultimatum out a big board full of Birds of Paradises and Noble Hierarchs and Knights and so forth. Search up our Gavany Township with Knight, pump up our team, win that way. Ghost Quarter to deal with Tron. Also sweet because we can get it back with our Eternal Witness if we need to, so kill a Tron land, get it back with Eternal Witness, kill another Tron land to really disrupt our opponent. Then we have a bunch of fetch lands, works well with our Knight of the Reliquary, also just fixes our mana, but we can tutor up a fetch land, sack the fetch land, gets 2 lands in our graveyard, double pumps our Knight of the Reliquary, makes it even bigger. Shock lands and basic lands. As far as the sideboard, we have some more green creatures that we can grab with our Woodland Bellower, or with our Chord of Calling, or with our Clarion Ultimatum. And you probably notice everything's in 2s, and that's to work with our Clarion Ultimatum. We want to be able to have something on the battlefield, and then when we cast Clarion Ultimatum, search up another copy of it. So 2 Reclamation Sages to deal with artifacts and enchantments, 2 Finks to deal with aggro decks, gives us a good blocker, gains us some life, an additional Ooze for graveyard decks. So since we have 1 in the main, we can go up the other one and have 2. And then we have Stony Silence to deal with Affinity and Tron, Condemn for Death Shadow, Surgical Extraction for graveyards, a bunch of counter spells. One of the challenges of Clarion Ultimatum is it's a 7-mana sorcery, which means if we run into control decks, pretty easy for our opponent to just leave up mana and counter it. So this helps us fight through our opponent's counter spells, and a Ghost Quarter for Tron. And that is Clairvoyant Visionary for Modern, and that's our Against the Odds deck for this week. So is there any chance that this works? And I don't know. So I think that we'll be able to win a game here or there. We do have some somewhat reasonable cards. I mean, just the ability to get out some Knights, some Woodland Bellowers, maybe Mirage Mirror or something, Clarion Ultimatum to search out a bunch more of those things and attack and win. I think that that could happen once in a while. As far as the actual combo kill, we kind of need things to go right. The biggest challenge of Clarion Ultimatum, and there's not really any way around it, is it's a ton of mana. So it's going to be slow for the Modern format no matter what. Hopefully, our combination of Ramp and Knights of the Reliquary and Spell Quellers to kind of disrupt our opponent a little bit will buy us enough time that we actually get to cast it. But that's the biggest challenge. 7 mana is just a lot. And for 7 mana, hopefully Clarion Ultimatum just wins us the game. I mean, hopefully it just wins us the game directly with the combo, but in the worst case, hopefully we have enough permanence on the battlefield that we're at least getting 2 or 3 or 4 different creatures, and that should hopefully be enough to win us the game anyway on the value plan. So we'll see how it goes. I'm a little worried that we'll get run over by aggro decks, and I'm also a little worried that if we run into control decks, they will just counter our Clarion Ultimatum. There's not a good way of making it uncounterable. I realize you can't play Beseiju because you need all colored mana. There's no generic mana to use a Beseiju to force it through. So you just gotta kind of hope it works. Cross your fingers, hope for the best. So I guess that's what we're doing this week. Crossing our fingers, hoping we can get the Clairvoyant Visionary kill, and in the worst case, hoping that we can pick up some wins with Clarion Ultimatum value. So anyway, that's Clairvoyant Visionary. That's our Against the Odds deck for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, take a second and click that like button down below. It's a great way to help support the channel for free, and you can find the next video in the playlist right here.